It's 10 a.m. and you're watching Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha. Let's start the bulletin with the top stories this morning. Prime Minister Narendra Modi thanks Nawaz Sharif for his welcome during surprise Lahore stopover. Pakistan hails it as a goodwill gesture. Sushma Swaraj hails Prime Minister as statesman. Congress and many in the opposition question Prime Minister's Pakistan visit. The main opposition party calls engagement with the neighbour frivolous. Quakes rock Afghanistan and Pakistan. Magnitudes vary from 6.2 to 6.9 in both countries. 17 injured in Afghanistan, 30 in Pakistan. Tremors also felt in several parts of North India. Top Madhesi leaders in Nepal allege constitution amendment proposal forcefully tabled in parliament without their consent. Nepal seeks China's help to resolve fuel crisis. And suspended BJP MP Kirti Azad writes to Amit Shah, seeks proof of anti-party activities. Union Minister Venkaiah Naidu warns Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party that attempts to malign Arun Jaitley will boomerang. Our top focus this morning. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has returned after a three-nation tour to Russia, Afghanistan and a surprise visit to Pakistan. The sudden visit to Pakistan has been the highlight of his tour. Modi met his Pakistani counterpart during a surprise visit to Lahore yesterday. The two leaders decided to open ways for peace for the larger good of people of both countries. Now, foreign secretaries of both sides are likely to meet on the 15th of January in Islamabad as part of comprehensive dialogue process.
A surprise stopover by the Prime Minister in Lahore. Narendra Modi ostensibly dropped by to wish Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif on his 66th birthday on Friday. Modi broke the news on Twitter, saying, "Looking forward to meeting Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif in Lahore today afternoon, where I will drop by on my way back to Delhi." Nawaz Sharif and his brother and Punjab Chief Minister Shahbaz Sharif were among the VIPs who welcomed Modi at the airport. The two Prime Ministers then took a helicopter to Raiwind, where they spent about 90 minutes at Nawaz Sharif's ancestral home.
जब उन्होंने लगभग 11:30 बजे हमारे वज़ीर आज़म को फ़ोन किया तो उसमें उन्होंने इस ख्वाहिश का इजहार किया कि मैं चाहता हूं कि मैं पाकिस्तान में थोड़ी देर के लिए रुकूं और आपके साथ थोड़ी बातचीत करूं। वज़ीर आज़म साहब ने उनको बताया कि मैं इस वक्त इस्लामाबाद में नहीं, लाहौर में हूं। तो उन्होंने कहा कि मैं उस सूरत में लाहौर में आऊँगा। तो वज़ीर आज़म ने कहा कि आप ज़रूर आइए, हमारे घर भी तशरीफ़ लाएँ, हमारे मुल्क में आप आए हैं, आप हमारे मेहमान हैं, हमारे साथ चाय पीजिए।
Tweeting about the visit, Modi later said, spent a warm evening with Sharif family at their family home. Nawaz Sahab's birthday and granddaughter's marriage made it a double celebration. The visit is the first by Modi and the first by any Indian Prime Minister in nearly 12 years. The visit is being hailed in Pakistan as a goodwill gesture and a positive one. During the talks, it's been decided to open ways for peace for the larger good of the people of the two countries. Following the meet, MEA spokesperson Vikas Swarup tweeted, "Infusing a positive spirit in the neighbourhood, Modi departs from Lahore after a few hours in Lahore."
जो फैसले हुए उनमें ये तय हुआ कि दोनों मुल्कों के दरमियान रवाबित को मज़ीद आगे बढ़ाया जाएगा ताकि बाहमी एतमाद साजी की जा सके और दोनों मुल्कों की दरमियान आवाम की सतह पर रवाबित भी बढ़ाए जाएं, पीपल टू पीपल कॉन्टेक्ट जिन्हें कहते हैं, ताकि वो माहौल पैदा किया जा सके जिसके नतीजे में दोनों मुल्कों के दरमियान जो अमन का अमल है वो आगे बढ़ सके।
After months of a freeze, India and Pakistan resumed high-level contacts with a brief conversation between Sharif and Modi at the climate change talks in Paris late last month, part of efforts to restart a peace dialogue plagued by militant attacks and long-standing distrust. This was followed by a meeting of the National Security Advisors and then a visit by Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj to Islamabad. It has been decided that the foreign secretaries of the two countries will meet next month for the beginning of comprehensive dialogue. On his departure from Lahore, Modi tweeted, "I'm personally touched by Nawaz Sharif Sahab's gesture of welcoming me at Lahore airport and coming to the airport when I left. Prime Minister Modi is also slated to visit Pakistan for the SAARC summit in 2016. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Back home, the opposition, of course, is not impressed. The main opposition Congress party attacked the Prime Minister for his unscheduled visit, alleging it was not to promote national interest but to promote business interest. The party has termed Modi's engagement with Pakistan as frivolous, unpredictable and full of U-turns.
I reject completely Shrimati Sushma Swaraj's claim that it's statesmanship-like. It was a spontaneous decision which was taken today. And I make this serious statement, and we have definitive information, it was pre-arranged, pre-discussed between the two prime ministers when they met in Paris, and what was never known to the country or to the Indian Parliament, for 1 hour in a hotel room in Kathmandu on the margins of the SAARC summit previously.
Questions will be raised that what has changed with the relationship with Pakistan so suddenly that a Prime Minister of India is making an unscheduled visit, especially when he is visiting another foreign country. We will wait for the government to brief the nation.
But former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah has welcomed the move. He said New Delhi's engagement with Pakistan is a good step, but called for consistency in the process instead of grand gestures. Abdullah tweeted, and I quote, "The re-engagement with Pakistan is a good step and a very welcome development. However, more than grand gestures, we need consistency. Indo-Pak relations have been plagued by knee-jerk reactions and a lack of consistency. Looking towards to the two prime ministers to correct this time." Unquote. Now, while the government saw a new radical approach to India's relationship with Pakistan, away from the media glare and political speculation, the opposition, as we told you, is not impressed. Let's listen in to some more of the political reactions.
It is surprise, but some work should have gone into the planning is travel via Lahore and meeting Ms. Nawaz Sharif, and one should welcome it, and we hope this will further strengthen our efforts to resolve our vexed disputes.
मुझे उम्मीद है और उम्मीद थी कि प्रधानमंत्री जिस दिन काबुल या इस्लामाबाद जाएंगे तो लौटते हुए दाऊद इब्राहिम को और हाफिज सईद को साथ लेकर आएंगे। मुझे बहुत पीड़ा हुई कि वो केक खाने के लिए इस्लामाबाद जा रहे हैं।
कभी कभी स्वतः स्फूर्त मुलाकातें पड़ोस के रिश्तों को बेहतर करती हैं। नवाज शरीफ साहब के जन्मदिन पर वहां जाना एक दोस्ताना रुख की तरफ इशारा करता है। ये बहुत अच्छी शुरुआत है भारत पाक संबंधों के बीच।
गिफ्ट by our country and our Prime Minister to the world peace and to the region, and especially to the people of Jammu and Kashmir who have been looking forward to such an initiative.
उनके जो नेता है बड़े, क्या उनको ये बात हजम हो पाएगी? ये पहली बात। देखिए, दो देशों में, दो देशों के प्रधानमंत्री में अगर कोई संवाद होता है तो मुझे लगता है उसमें कोई गुनाह नहीं है, लेकिन पाकिस्तान के साथ क्या संवाद हो सकता है? ये पहली बात।
Defense and strategic affairs experts have, however, welcomed the visit, calling it a positive one. They say it is essential to engage with a neighbor with nuclear capabilities.
Afternoon today, how significant this meeting is? Well, it's a continuation of the earlier meetings at international fora like in Paris, and also I think track 2 diplomacy is going on. No one talks about it, but must be happening. So this thing that Pakistan wants is not going to be settled, I think, certainly not the way they want, So talk is the only alternative.
I think it's a very positive thing to happen. That a visit which he was scheduled to take in April has been preponed to December. So friendship has been advanced in a way.
This trip will strengthen the forces, democratic forces in Pakistan. This will also help strengthen Nawaz Sharif, and it will create a very good atmosphere for further negotiation between the two countries, which are supposed to resume next month when Foreign Secretary would be visiting and will set.
I think Prime Minister's attempt to stop over in Lahore is basically to give it an informal look, to give it a casual look, so that Pakistan is also considered like any other South Asian neighbor and not in a special category. I do not visualize any substantial issues being discussed during this matter.
I think it's important that these contacts and this dialogue continue. I think Mr. Modi is a shrewd politician. I think he's made an adroit move. I think also it reflects that he has a desire for peace between India and its neighbors, and I see it as a sign of some important things to come.
So mixed reactions there coming in from different quarters on the Prime Minister's sudden stopover in Lahore yesterday. Moving on to some other news now. A powerful earthquake struck northern Afghanistan in the early hours today. The 6.2 magnitude quake originated in the northern province of Badakhshan, close to the Pakistani and Tajik borders. Tremors were felt across Pakistan and India too. At least 17 people were injured in the city of Peshawar as old homes and walls collapsed at some places. Residents ran into the streets after feeling the impact of the quake. Only 2 months ago, more than 300 people were killed by a strong quake in the same mountainous region.
अर्थक्वेक जिसका के रिक्टर स्केल पर मैग्नीट्यूड 6.5 था, वो अफगानिस्तान में हिंदुकुश रीजन में महसूस किया गया, जो कि पूरे नॉर्दर्न इंडिया में महसूस किया गया. इसकी डेप्थ 186 किलोमीटर थी. ये पूरे नॉर्दर्न इंडिया में महसूस किया गया, जिसमें कि J&K, चंडीगढ़, पंजाब, कुछ जगह राजस्थान में भी महसूस किया गया. पूरा NCR में तो महसूस किया ही गया है.
Let's now take a look at all the important events lined up for today in our segment, The Day Ahead. Executive Committee of the Delhi and District Cricket Association is likely to meet today to explore various disciplinary measures, including issuing show-cause notice to former India cricketers Kirti Azad and Bishan Singh Bedi for making corruption allegations against its former president Arun Jaitley. The cremation of Bollywood's yesteryear's actress Sadhna Shivdasani, who passed away on Friday, will take place today from her Santa Cruz residence in Mumbai. The 74-year-old Bollywood diva, who was not keeping well for quite some time and breathed her last at Hinduja Hospital yesterday. Sadhna was admitted in Mumbai last year for a lesion in her mouth and underwent a surgery. Hardline Hurriyat Conference leader Syed Ali Shah Gilani called for a general strike across Jammu and Kashmir today to protest against the killing of a mother-son duo, allegedly by a village defence committee member in Rajouri. Gilani has also called for disbanding of the VDCs in the state following 3 murders committed allegedly by its members in a span of 1 week. A National Conference activist was shot dead by another VDC member last Saturday. With that, time for us to slip into a very short break. More news to follow on the other side. Do stay with us.
Who should be in power is left to be determined by the people.
I want all minorities to have an honorable place in the Union of India.
Declaration was that zamindari would be abolished, for which fair compensation would be paid.
There is no dispute whatsoever that the executive should be separated from the judiciary.
The protagonists of Hindi, in their enthusiasm, have gone too far.
Greatest danger in the future may not be that the center will interfere too much, but that the units may resent the guidance of the center.
The future constitution of India would be a pyramidal structure based on the village panchayats.
I move that the constitution be passed.
Welcome back. You're with us on Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. Now, BJP MP Kirti Azad, who has been suspended from the party for attacking Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, has written now to party chief Amit Shah. In the letter, Azad has sought proof of his anti-party activities while maintaining that he remains a loyal party soldier. The three-time Darbhanga MP also noted that the suspension letter served on him made no mention of the DDCA corruption over which he had targeted Arun Jaitley. Citing the party's charge that he brought BJP and its office bearers into disrepute with actions and that he colluded with Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party, Azad insisted that he has been a loyal soldier of the BJP since 1993, when he was elected as an MLA from the New Delhi Assembly seat. The BJP had on Wednesday suspended Azad from its primary membership. And staying with the DDCA route, the centre has alleged that both Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party are attempting to malign Finance Minister Arun Jaitley's reputation over the DDCA issue. Union Minister Venkaiah Naidu has said any such attempts will boomerang on them. Listening.
Congress regime which was neck deep in corruption, I don't want to give all the statistics of corruption, and whose ministers were facing corruption charges which were dropped, and whose chief ministers even now are facing serious charges, including CBI. They did not even hesitate to join hands with a party whose leader is convicted for corruption, just for the sake of few seats, to raid to power on the shoulders of such party and such leader. It is known to everybody that the so-called charges regarding Delhi Cricket Association are old, and they have not happened when Arun Jaitley is the minister.
And Delhi's Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung has called the Aam Aadmi Party government's decision to appoint a commission of inquiry to investigate the DDCA case as legally invalid. Responding to the observation, Arvind Kejriwal accused the centre of misusing the Lieutenant Governor's office.
Another tussle between the LG and the Delhi Chief Minister. Arvind Kejriwal on Friday objected to letters from Najib Jung's office being leaked to the media. In the letter, the LG had questioned the legality of the inquiry panel set up to investigate the irregularities in the Delhi District Cricket Association.
अगर LG ऑफिस चुनी हुई सरकार के खिलाफ खबरें लीक कर रहा है तो मुझे लगता है ये बहुत सीरियस मामला है। इस रूल 23 में दिया हुआ कौन कौन सी फाइलें LG के पास जाएंगी। इसके अलावा कोई फाइल LG के पास जाने की जरूरत नहीं है। LG साहब कोई डिक्टेटर नहीं है। कमीशन ऑफ इंक्वायरी कौन बनाएगा? वो इसके ट्रांजैक्शन ऑफ बिजनेस रूल्स के शेड्यूल में दिया हुआ है, आइटम नंबर 13। कैबिनेट को और लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली को बनाने का अधिकार है, कहीं एलजी का नाम नहीं लिखा हुआ।
LG is reported to have told the Home Ministry that under the Commission of Inquiry Act 1952, only the centre and state governments can appoint commissions of inquiry. Since Delhi is a union territory, the Aam Aadmi Party government can order the inquiry only with the centre's concurrence through the LG.
Why is it that the Aam Aadmi Party takes decisions only in those areas where a confrontation is assured, areas where they don't have the authority? This only shows that their intention is to create a confrontation and create a media war so that they can be relevant. Otherwise, there are thousands of areas where they don't require the involvement of either the LG or the central government, and they can work independently.
The Delhi cabinet set up a one-member inquiry commission to probe the alleged irregularities in Delhi District Cricket Association involving Finance Minister Arun Jaitley. Jaitley has filed a case of defamation against Kejriwal and other Aam Aadmi Party leaders for linking him with the alleged corruption in the cricket body. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And moving on now from the political heat in Delhi to the chilly weather. Biting cold has set in northern parts of India. Leh was the coldest recorded place in Jammu and Kashmir on Friday. The residents of Delhi also woke up to a chilly morning on Friday with the minimum temperature settling at 6 degrees Celsius.
Cold wave tightened its grip further in Jammu and Kashmir. Minimum temperatures continued their descent, with Leh registering the season's lowest at -16.2 degrees Celsius. The bone-chilling cold froze up water bodies including the Dal Lake. In national capital Delhi, minimum temperatures hovered around 6 degrees Celsius amid a thick fog.
यहाँ मतलब लकड़ियों वगैरह की बहुत दिक्कत रहती है। जंगल से सूखी लकड़ियाँ उठा के लाते हैं, जब बर्फ गिर जाती है तो कोई लकड़ी नहीं मिलती, ना यहाँ में कोई सरकार की तरफ से कोई सुविधा रहती है। यहाँ पे
ठंड, हवा
ऊपर से दिखाई कुछ नहीं देता, बंद हो गया बिल्कुल दिखाई देना। और जिस जगह पे हम रहते हैं ना, वहाँ पे तो आप चल ही नहीं सकते, मतलब आपको दिखेगा नहीं कुछ भी कि कहाँ जाना है आपको।
In Uttar Pradesh's Varanasi, fog threw normal life out of gear. Trains were delayed or cancelled due to reduced visibility. The lowest temperature in Punjab and Haryana was recorded at minus 0.3 degrees Celsius in Amritsar. Churu in Rajasthan was 0.4 degrees Celsius. Parts of North Madhya Pradesh recorded temperatures below 5 degrees Celsius.
मेन काम कोहरे का है और सबसे बड़ी चीज है, उससे सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम ये है कि ये जो यहाँ से आप लाइन देख रहे हैं, जो गोरखपुर लाइन है, ये सिंगल लाइन है। सिंगल लाइन में होने की सबसे दिक्कत ये होती है कि एक ट्रेन जब रूट पे चल रही होती है तो दूसरी ट्रेन को लोग स्टेशन पर रोक देते हैं। इसकी वजह से क्या, एक ट्रेन को पास करते हैं, दूसरे को रोकते हैं, फिर दूसरे को पास करते हैं, फिर तीसरे को रोकते हैं। इसकी वजह से जब तक ये दोहरीकरण नहीं होगा तब तक ट्रेन आपको लेट मिलेगी हमेशा। सर्दियों में तो सबसे ज्यादा दिक्कत होती है पैसेंजर्स को।
The Met Department said, despite sunshine, cold winds will make weather extremely cold. As icy cold winds blow over the area, temperatures are expected to remain much below normal average. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
An update now on the global weather situation. The threat of severe weather just before Christmas is unusual but not unprecedented. Starting with the United States, at least 11 people were killed as spring-like storms mixed with unseasonably warm weather spawned rare Christmas-time tornadoes in several South and Midwest states. Mississippi was the worst hit, with 7 people dead, while 6 others were killed in Tennessee. If heat and tornadoes were devastating the South, icy winds and snow made life miserable in the Midwest. More than 63 centimeters of snow fell in just 2 days in some areas of Washington state. The first big storm of the winter blanketed the Lake Tahoe area of Nevada with snow that had caused travel chaos for Christmas travelers. Meanwhile, in Moscow, snow completely disappeared from the city's streets as warm air moved into the European part of Russia. An abnormally warm winter has brought flowers into blossom. Several types of plants that usually wake up in the spring have started to vegetate prematurely. Now, while hazardous smoke choked Beijing on Friday with pollution levels exceeding the index, neighboring cities were also hit by heavy air pollution. Weather forecasts say the pollution should ease from Saturday afternoon, when a cold front in Beijing was hoped would disperse the smoke. And news now from neighbouring Nepal. 2 top Madhesi leaders have alleged that the Constitution Amendment proposal has been forcefully tabled in Parliament without their consent. They told this to Maoist Supremo Prachanda, who is apparently mediating between the government and the agitating group. Prachanda is learned to have asked the Madhesi leaders to withdraw their 4-month-long protest and blockade of key trade border points with India, as Constitution Amendment proposal has already been taken forward by the government to address the issues of the Madhesis. In response, the leaders told him that the front is not prepared to accept the Constitution Amendment proposal forwarded by the major parties, as it has been forcefully tabled at the parliament without their consent. Meanwhile, Nepal's foreign minister has sought China's help in dealing with an energy crisis that has crippled the landlocked country over the past 3 months. China says it would look at the request favorably.
鼓励两国企业之间来探讨开展长期的油气的贸易。我们还愿意从中长期的角度同尼方来探索如何来更好的解决尼泊尔长期面临的能源不足的问题。
I'm very happy to note that the government of China has instructed the concerned Petroleum Export Authority to be in touch and discuss issues related with the long-term trade of petroleum products with Nepal.
Heading towards Syria now, in a major blow to the most powerful Syrian rebel group, Jaish al-Islam, the head of the group and several of its top leaders have been struck down. The Syrian army claims the group's founder, Zaroun Aloush, was among those killed in an airstrike in east of Damascus. Syria's army command said it had conducted the special operation with 10 rockets hitting a meeting place of the group. The Saudi-backed Islamist group is one of the biggest rebel factions. It had recently joined the opposition summit in Riyadh, agreeing on a framework for peace talks with the Syrian government. But Russia, an ally of Syria, presented a list of rebel groups it identifies as terrorists, which includes Jaish al-Islam. The recent development could lead a severe blow to the nascent efforts to find a political resolution in Syria. And a look now at some of the other stories from around the world in World Wrap. 60 ethnic Turks flew to Turkey on Friday from eastern Ukraine as a part of repatriation process launched by the Turkish government. 2 military transport planes flew the repatriates, mostly Slavyansk residents, from Kharkiv to Erzincan in eastern Turkey, where they will be placed in temporary housing. The Turkish authorities said they will provide all necessary formal clearance for employment and long-term stay of Turks repatriated from Ukraine. A suicide bomber today blew himself up at a packed mosque of minority Ahmadi community during Friday prayers in northwestern Bangladesh, wounding at least 10 people. The blast took place when the mosque at Bagmara town, some 250 kilometers from Dhaka, was packed with worshippers during Friday prayers amid the nationwide celebration of Eid-e-Milad-un-Nabi, the birth anniversary of Prophet Muhammad. Explosions and gunfire resounded around the southeastern Turkish town of Cizre on Friday after a clash overnight that the army said killed at least 6 Kurdish militants and 1 soldier. Since a 2-year ceasefire between Kurdistan Workers' Party militants and Ankara fell apart in July, the mainly Kurdish southeast has been plunged back into a 3-decades-old conflict, which has killed more than 40,000 people. And a look now at all the sporting action in SportsBeat. The year-long impasse between the BCCI and the West Indies Cricket Board has come to an end. It was decided to resume bilateral cricketing ties with an away tour of the Caribbean islands in mid-2016. India is scheduled to play 4 test matches in the Caribbean in July-August 2016. The halt came last year after the West Indies players had pulled out of an ongoing series against India last year. India kicked off their campaign in the South Asian Football Federation Cup on a positive note, recording an easy 2-0 victory over Sri Lanka. Striker Robin Singh scored twice for his side, finding the back of the net at the 51st and 73rd minutes. It will be a big boost for the Indian team that was coming from a poor outing in the 2018 FIFA World Cup qualifying campaign. Chris Woakes will be replacing injured James Anderson in England's bowling attack in the 4-match series against South Africa that begins in Durban on Saturday. Warwickshire's Woakes will play his first test match in 16 months. Alex Hales too is set to make his test debut and will be the 8th opener to partner Alastair Cook since 2012. That's it from us in this bulletin. Have a nice day.